All right, friends, we are progressing, and now we want to look at margin and padding. We want to look at margin and padding. So let me use a picture to explain better. All right, margin and padding. I think I saved my desktop here. Okay, look at this picture. Now this is your content. Let's say this is a box. This content is a box, and your padding is inside. Then this is your border, and then your margin is outside. So when you are saying margin left and margin right, you are simply trying to move that box from the right, from the outside. The box will be shifting from outside, but if you make it padding, the box will be shifting from inside. You already know what border is. Border is the one I say, border solid color, and then it will give that color to that border. All right, now let's do some practicals. Let's leave this talk and do some practical, but this is just an image to show you how padding works. You can screenshot this and then use it to learn more. All right, so now let's go. This is two box inside another box. Right, these two boxes inside another box. So now what is padding? Now I want to work on this particular blue box. So I'm going to add a padding so that you will see what will happen. You will see what will happen, that this box is going to move from inside and not from outside. All right, it's going to move from inside and not from outside. Now I will say my box 1 padding top, padding top rather. I will say that padding top should be 50 pixel. Let me refresh. Did you see what happened? The box moved inside, so it simply added. So if you look at where my cursor is, that 50 pixel was simply added to the top, and because an extra width has been added to the top, it moved the box down. All right, now let's remove that padding. Look at this box now. Do you see what happened? It moved from inside. It increased the width of the box because the stretching is inside. But if it is margin, the box width will remain the same. It will simply move this box a distance from the top so that you can now be seeing a red color at the top, showing that this box has moved down. Now what do we do? Let's change this padding to margin. All right, so this is margin top. Did you see what happened? You can see that our box retained its width, but then it moved, so it gave a margin here. So let's go back to our picture. You can see that margin is outside. You can see margin is outside. This is the border. Let's look at the box. All right, let me try to put the two contents side by side so that you can see. All right, now look at this. You can see that the margin, the margin is this top. All right, now remember, you have margin top. We only added margin top. We have margin top, margin left, margin bottom, and then margin right. So if we add margin right, it's going to move this. If you add the margin right, which means it's going to push this box to the left. Now this is border. You can see this is our border. Our border is this black border. This is our border. Then padding. When we give a padding, it put a padding. Okay, let's add the padding and see what happens. Let's just say padding top as well. Let's say padding top should also be 50 pixel. All right, now let's watch what happens. Did you see what happened? The width has increased. It means that the margin is giving a margin of 50 pixel on the top and giving a padding of 50 pixel inside the box. So it added a 50 pixel inside the box. Okay, so that is how padding and the margin works. All right, so that is padding and margin. Now, okay, now you can see that let me now remove this padding and show you something. Let me remove these two and try to show you something. All right, let me try to Now you can see that we have removed that and the box is now where it's supposed to be. Now look at another thing. Instead of saying padding top or padding left, okay, instead of saying margin top, margin left, and margin right, you simply say margin. You simply say margin. Now, this margin is simply to give a particular margin to both the left, right, top, and bottom. So when you say only margin without declaring the side of the margin and you say 50 pixel, you will see what happens. Let's see. Do you observe what happened? It gave a margin at the top, a margin at the right, a margin at the bottom, and a margin by the left. You cannot see this bottom one because the background is already red, but at least you can see the left and the right one, that they all move. There's also a margin here. There's also a margin here, and there's also a margin at this bottom. All right, there's also a margin at that bottom. Okay, now how do we, now if we only say margin and add only two elements and say 50 pixel, now let's watch what will happen. In this case, it only put top and bottom. Sorry, it only put sorry, let me see what something I want to show you. Okay, so margin, this is margin top and margin right. So when you declare only two, it's going to put a margin for the top and for the right. All right, so this is 50 pixel margin at the top and 10 pixel by the right. So if I put 4, so that is how you can make different size of the box to have different margins to shift in a particular position from a content depending on what you are doing. So I can say that now it means this is 50 is top, 10 is right, so the next one is going to be bottom and the last one is going to be left. I will say 20 pixel for the bottom and then 10 pixel for the left. So look at how this works. Okay, let me refresh. So because the background is the same thing, you can't see anything, but know that in this thing now there is a padding here, a padding of 50 here, a padding of 10 by the left, a padding of 20 by the bottom, and a padding of 10 by the left. So that is how to give different size to your box. All right, this is how to give different size to your box. So but if you just want the entire box to have the same margin, if I just put only 50, it means it's going to give this 50 to the 4 sides of the box. Okay, you can see it is going to give it to the 4 sides of the box. All right, so that is about padding and margin. All right, so depending on what you are doing, you add the padding and you add the margin. It all, there is CSS and HTML, there is no specific thing. It all depends on creativity and what you want to do. You know whether I'm going to use padding, you know whether I'm going to use margin. All right, so that is that to that. Now, final thing before we close, I want to show you what I call universal selector. Universal selector. So I'm going to get rid of this margin whatever here. Okay, so that this, you can see that our box has moved to where it was before. Now, but if you look at this top, you will see that there is a space at this top, that this box did not hit this thin line. Why? Because it has a default margin. The browser gives it a default margin, and you know that if you have a website and the website just starts here and does not hit this top, it looks somehow in the eyes. So we are going to use what we call universal selector. Universal selector is what we use to style every, to give a particular instruction of what happens in the entire web page. Now, even though you give a universal selector and then it affects every element in the page, you can still use your ID and your class to make a particular element to disobey that universal styling. All right, so universal selector we use something like a star. All right, so this is what you call universal selector. Now let me say margin 0. Now look at what's going to happen to this. You can see there's a space here now. If I refresh, do you see what happened? It moved to the top. So it is telling the browser, don't add any form of margin anywhere. Now you can see that this thing is now sticked to the top of the browser, and it now looks very good, unlike when there was a white space at that top. All right, so this is how that works. I don't know whether you understand, but I believe that this is more of practice. As you practice it, you understand, and I also believe that I'm trying my best to explain. All right, so but now you can see that even though we have a universal selector telling everything to be stuck together without any space, we can still add our padding top to this blue box. All right, this is our box 1. We can say padding top. I say padding top and say 50 pixels. Now look at what happens. Look at what happens. You see, padding. Oh, instead of not padding, please, it should be margin, because we are talking about margin. We're talking about margin here and not padding. All right. You can see that though you have given a universal instruction that margin should be 0, but then I am telling this box, disobey this instruction, give me a padding of 50 at the top. All right, so let's see. You can see. So that is it. But then this is how we can make that universal selector that uses just to remove this padding at this particular top. I can also make this big box to disobey that instruction by giving it a padding top as well, and it will disobey that universal instruction. But I'm just showing you so that when you're designing your website and you're asking, why is my website not sticking to the head appropriately, just use a universal selector and put margin 0 and padding 0, and then everything will be like that. All right, so let me stop that about margin and padding here, and then we will continue to the next thing in the next video. Thank you.